We are recording. Okay, good to go. All right, how's it going, everybody? I wanted to start off um, by saying thanks for watching, and those that support the channel, thanks for tuning in and supporting the channel. Um, and my plans is also I want to talk about this setup, and I can actually understand why a lot of people love this type of workflow for a home studio setup, which I'm actually in my dining room. If you watch I did a studio tour video not too long ago, and I started with just in the dining room, and I talked about the setup. Only thing I've added was just a little 12 channel mix. It was, well, I guess it's, yes, technically a little 12 channel mixer, maybe 8 channel. I have to look at it. My little Behringer mixer, because it did enhance my JBL monitors. That's the only thing I really added. But other than that, in this setup, and I'm gonna do a video on it, and it is absolutely perfect for a lot of this stuff. So what I want to do, I know the camera is kind of all set. I'm gonna adjust this little camera a little bit too. There we go. There we go. Okay. So I'm gonna adjust this camera a little bit, and what I want to talk about in this video, and it was probably better for me to do the demonstration in this video, is different DAWs. Now, the reason why I decided to make this video, it had nothing to do with, somebody made a comment. It was a really stupid comment, which tells me this person was a very stupid person. Of course, I deleted the comment. But every now when a comment is made, sometimes people watch the channel see the comment before I get a chance to see because you know how anything with Google/YouTube, you get a notification that a comment has been made, and sometimes people make comments while I'm asleep or away from the computer, or when I'm at work or whatever. I don't get a chance to see the comment, so the comment might be there for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. But most of the time, I get the notifications. I'll see the notification, and I'll see it, and I'll read the comment. Stupid comments will get deleted. Insulting or disrespectful, out of pocket type of comments will not only get the comment deleted, but get the person banned from the channel. So the comment was stupid, which I'm not going to repeat the comment, but I deleted the comment. But it did spark me to make a video on DAWs. Now, some people will think that this is how ignorant some people are, not realizing a lot of the DAWs that we're using today, I don't care which it is. Some DAWs are new. Some DAWs are new, and some DAWs are just been updated, and upgraded. That's all. They've been around for decades. They've just been upgraded. Prime example would be like Cubase. Another one would be Cakewalk. Another one would be Pro Tools, and so forth. There's just newer DAWs out there that's been around for 5 years, 10 years. But Reason has been around for about 20 years. This is why there are versions of it. Like you go Cakewalk, it started off as Cakewalk 3.0 before it became Cakewalk, Pro Audio. Then it became Cakewalk Sonar Producer, and version 1, version 2, version before it went away for a second. Now it became Cakewalk by BandLab. It's the same DAW with a lot of upgrades and improvements. The same thing with Pro Tools. Pro Tools used to be Digi Design back in '92, but they were Pro Tools, and you had to use their interface and a lot of their stuff to use it. It was mainly more of just editing before it became what we do in modern DAWs today, which is not only do we do MIDI and instrument and loops and samples and everything else today, as well as using third-party plugins, because third-party plugins are just digital replacements for hardware gear. So that's all that is. Some DAWs come with built-in DAW plugins. and some DAWs come with very limited built-in plugins, and you have to use third-party ones. And speaking of plugins, that's another video where there's a lot of plugin companies that's been around for years, and then there are new ones. But there are a lot of them, just like there's a lot of DAWs, and there are a lot of plugin companies, and everybody has their favorite because everyone likes to work a certain way. But to get people to understand about, you know, the whole process, just because one person is using Cubase and you like Studio One doesn't mean that Studio One is better than Cubase. The whole thing is all DAWs, one, no DAW affects the sound. There's only one DAW that's opinionated that might slightly affect the sound, and that's Harrison Mix Bus. Harrison Mix Bus is a fairly new DAW, but the reason being that they think they might have a built-in analog saturation plugin built into the algorithms of the software to give you the effect that it's recorded like it was recorded on tape or through an analog console. That's the only DAW that's, you know, seemed to be in controversy that it affects the sound. But overall, the sound quality of a DAW has absolutely nothing to do with the actual DAW until you start putting plugins on your tracks. The only thing that what affects the sound quality is the audio interface. And the sounds that you're listening to before it goes in and after it comes back out of the speakers is the conversion. Now, most audio interfaces today have really exceptional AD to DA converter chips. It wasn't like that 20 years ago. 25 years ago when digital was fairly new. That's why it's constant upgrading. Almost like me, I'm using a Behringer Euphoria. It's a UMC 44 HD. I actually have an 1820 Behringer Euphoria as well, but it's with and it has AD light pipe extension to an ultra gain, which gives me 16 channels of input and output for the Behringer system. But I also have a Motu, Mark of the Unicorn. It's an old system, but I also have an M Audio Omni Studio. That's an old system. I had some Personas interfaces, an IO box, and an 18 VSL, and other interfaces. I had some Focusrite interfaces. I had quite a bit. Of course, in my big studio upstairs, I have a very expensive one. It's called the Antelope Orion. They have Gen 4 out now, but mine's is a Gen 3. It's but I use that for my Allen Heath console and all the rack gear upstairs. That's a high-end interface, which is going to be another video on interfaces. Usually, what's great about, I'll give you an example, what's great about the Euphoria that I'm using, it has the ability to go up to 192K sampling rate. To understand audio interfaces, first you need to understand sampling rate. The more you can sample, it's almost like, think of the sampling rate in audio is no different than video and the, what's the best word I'm looking for? The pixels count or whatever. It's like a camera that can only do 768 pixel rate versus one that can do 1080 versus one that can do 4K versus one that can do 6K versus 8K in digital video recording. And what's happening now is a lot of it took a long time for a lot of film companies in Hollywood to switch to the cameras that are digital, like the Red Epic Dragon, and versus still using like Panavision, which use film. It's kind of like a tape machine. When you go back to the history of recording on tape, like and there were different tape machines. There was MCI, there's Studer, there is a Sony, there's Otari, there's different tape machines, 16 track, 24 track. The only downside to a 24 track is if you want to sync more than one 24 track, you have to use sympathy time code. Same thing when you get into ADATs, and then it became hard disk recorders. One of the most high end digital recorders that were used in a lot of pro studios was Radar system. But everyone realized that even those systems are limited to what DAWs can do as far as their editing capabilities and with the ability to implement plugins and everything else. Radar finally had to implement a system to use where they can implement a DAW into their Radar, but yet still use their 80 to DA converters, because it's one of the most systems that sound the most like tape. But it's a very expensive DAW. I mean, it's a very expensive digital hard disk recorder. And the same thing, but there are a lot of other digital hard disk recorders like the Tascam. Like me, I have the Alesis 24 track digital recorder. I also still have ADATs, which are tape. They're 8-track tapes that I have 3 of them synced. But let me get on with the video, because it's been going on 12 minutes, 11 and a half minutes talking about that. So I'm making this video to talk about DAWs. And I want to make sure they all open. I just got finished. I had FL Studio 20. I have just the trial version. I hadn't pulled the trigger on buying, but I think I'm gonna pull the trigger on buying a more fuller version instead of a trial version, so I can play around with FL Studio, because it's one of the ones that I haven't played with a whole lot, other than playing around in the trial version. But I want to play around, and I'm going to open these DAWs and why I'm gonna kind of go over why I like the features of these different DAWs. And I'm going to talk about other DAWs. I have some in my other system, and then other DAWs I've heard about, and so forth. I'm just going to talk about DAWs. So I'm going to open up, of course, everyone knows my favorite one because I've been working with it for years. It's going to be Cakewalk, right? So Cakewalk is going to open up. So I'm going to shrink me. And of course, this is a tutorial video. The one I was doing the other day. So this is the one I was doing where I had set up my DAW. Is opening up, and so and I'm going to talk a little bit about okay, so I have to let me see here. Okay, I'm gonna okay. I had to put the mixer. I had to put the mixer back because I have it split screen, so I can look at the tracking, editing window, and then the mixer window. I like to do that so I can edit in one window and I can mix and everything else in the other window. So, so what I'm gonna other than I like the layout of Cakewalk, especially the mixing console. This is where I set up all my auxiliary sends and everything else. And probably one of my favorite features out of the whole Cakewalk system is this Pro channel, where you can insert all your different I can insert more modules than the standard ones. It comes with the Pro channel starts off with just a simple compressor, which is basically it's a it's a copy of a famous compressor, and they know this. Um, where you have the attack, release, output, and your ratio settings, and you can blend. You can blend how much of the compressor affects the mix, and this is very effective. A lot of times there'll be some points where this is all the compression that you need without even adding any third-party plugins. But other than that, you can also insert plugins in the Pro channel if you want to affect the Pro channel and be in this part of the chain instead of being like if you did an insert. Like in a real studio, you take cables and you patch in cables on the channels to outboard gear through the patch bay. Well, in DAW world, you just simply drag or insert or right click, or however your DAW works. You just insert it that way. But other than that, and I love this very intuitive EQ, because it expands so I can actually do some serious precise EQ. I can really dial in how I want the EQ. I can shelve it, or if I want to put in, how I want to adjust the frequency, what I want to boost or cut, whatever frequencies I want to boost and cut or whatever. And I can set that. I can take this right now. It's going to make it a shelf or whatever. I can put in a high pass filter, low pass filter if I want, initiate a low high pass filter to cut out low end frequencies, or low pass filter to cut out high end frequencies, and so forth. And I can dial that in. And on top of that, I can have different EQ styles. So it changes based on, and of course, this is modeled at a very famous type of console. There's two different, an E style. We already know 3-letter type of console. And then, of course, the G style. E style, so you can see the curves change based on the EQ modeling. But what's great about it is you can also come in here has a tube saturation, and then a console style. Three of the most famous style consoles that it will emulate just based on switching this API need for SSL. So, and it will change the signature of the signal. That's why I love this. And on top of that, if I want to insert another module, I come in here. Let's say I want to insert an LA2A style. So I can take that, and I can simply grab it and drag it and reposition it too. So I can put it up here. I can drag it, and I can put, and I got my 1176 style and my LA2A style. So I can just use those and create a vocal chain compressor just using the Pro channel without ever even using plugins. So that's one of the features that I like about Cakewalk. Other than the million other features that it has, I'm gonna shut the Pro channel. It's very easy to get started, especially if I know, the shortcut keys to this software. It's very, very easy. Has a ton of tools. I'm gonna hit D. You can set up that. I like the arranger window, so I can set up my arranger window, and I can set up my markers, and so forth. There's so many features that I can do to this program, and I'm not going to dwell on it other than getting into step writing, and if I want to get into piano rolls or whatever, I can even add in lyric sheets. You can even print this lyric sheets off if you want to add your lyrics. So that way this will pop up. You can write in your lyrics and start typing in your lyrics of your song. I can come in here and I can actually come over here and hit the browser window, and I can actually come over here and make notes, name it, copyright, insert a picture on it, put notes on the song. Just a ton of stuff. I can look at all my plugins available. I can hit my inspector window, and I can come here and there's more stuff I can do. Like if I want to look at that, or I want to let my Ranger window and start adding in my Ranger so I can arrange my project the way I want. Every 8 bars, I can make an intro, so that way I can just go to that part of the song and work and edit that part of the song without having to always scroll or navigate across that. You can, and so forth. You can, there's a lot of stuff that you can do. This software is extremely powerful. I can set up my loops, my metronome. If I want to set up my metronome, that window comes up. I can turn on my loop if I wanted to. Just a ton of stuff that you can do. This is my editing tool where I can edit the track, I can move the track, I can splice the track, I can cut the track, I can, all the stuff I want to do. I can export the track, make it a MIDI, MP3, and a WAV file or whatever. So I'm not going to go on and on because it'll take forever to explain each of these DAWs. So, and it's just a lot of stuff that you can do in this software. But anyhow, so all the time I set up, people probably know this by now, I think it's one of the easiest DAWs to get into and take advantage of it because it's still free. It won't be free for long, but when I started working with Cakewalk, it wasn't free. Of course, Sonar, you had to pay for it. Now it's free, but they're about to go back to paying for it again. That's because about to go back to Sonar. So, but I'm not worried about that because I will pay for it because I know it and I'm not going to give it up. So that's one. So we're not going to worry about that. I'm going to close that out. No, we don't want to save. Yeah, I can say that because all I did was add the arranger. Okay, that's one. That's one software. Another one that I know well is FL Studio. Studio One. So I'm going to click on that one. So as it opens up, I'm going to talk a lot. Like I said, I'm going to talk about it for a short period. Doing, of course, it's scrolling all the. It always scrolls. I have it scanning plugins whenever I add plugins. It'll scan for plugins whenever I add them. So while it's doing that, another easy software to get into is Studio One. I have the professional version. I need to upgrade it because there's a little bit more newer version than this. But Studio One, I really got hipped onto this one about 10 years ago because I watched Teddy Riley at a NAMM show talk about Studio One. And what I like about, unlike Cakewalk, which is PC only, if you are Mac or if you're a Mac user, what's great about programs like Studio One is you can have a Mac and use Studio One. Just like you can have a PC and have a Studio One. And what's great about Studio One works flawlessly in both systems. See, Cakewalk is only PC only. It won't work in a Mac. And there are people that will hack their Mac that take Windows and install Cakewalk on it. But it has a lot to do with the chipset and how Mac's operating system and how it's trying to use the Windows. And there could be some hiccups in the way that Macs are trying to use Windows. So there are a lot of people that will put Windows on there, but they will still seem to have some problems. Some people have no problems with it, but anyhow, it's kind of like if you want to use Windows, Windows are cheap. If you got a Mac, I got a Mac, and I also got PCs. I got Macs and I got PCs, and I'm about to get another Mac. Reason is why this is still scanning mine. Because some of these that is scanning, like Analog Lab 5, Amplitude, some of these are very big software, and it has to scan it to use it. Because what I like about Studio One is you can use FL Studio as a plugin in it. You can use Reason in Studio One as a plugin, as well as my standalone VST plugins like my Korg as a plugin, and so forth. So you can use other DAWs that allow to have features that it can be used as a VST plugin in Studio One. What else? While that's doing it, I'm going to change my DAW back to Studio One on my Artura Key Lab. That way, all the transport and controls, all the transport and controls will work flawlessly. All the button controls work with, and the sliders are set up for to work in Studio One. That's what I love about it. You know, it's like my two favorite. I got three favorite ones really. My MIDI controllers, like my Turia Key Lab, my M-Audio Control 49, and my Behringer Motor 40. You know, they all work with DAW, especially this one. This one works great in Cakewalk, and it also works great in Studio One. It works great in Harrison Mix Bus. So this is the first time I've opened up Studio One when I just added more plugins. That's why it's taking a minute. There's other DAWs while this is going, like Bitwig. There is GarageBand. There's Digital Performer. There's Audacity, and so forth. And it can go on and on. There's going to be always a debate about which DAW is better. No one DAW is better than the other one, especially if the person that knows how to use that DAW and they can get outstanding results. Because I guarantee, when you're listening to music out there on the radio today, and I'm not talking about the ones that have been released by where someone went to a commercial studio and they used it, because most of the time, if an artist went to a commercial studio and where there was a large format console, an SSL, a Neve, an API, or whatever console, an audience, or whatever console was in there, as well as Rag Gear, 99% of the time they had Pro Tools going, which is another DAW. But there are a lot of people that have released their own music on different independent sources. Okay, we are up, and I'm going to, we are up, and, okay. All right. Once again, Studio One is what's great about Studio One is, let me see. This is one song. I'm gonna go start, and we're gonna start a new project, an empty, right? Okay. What I like about this is how Studio One's drag and drop get going features is super fast, right? So I can come over here and add tracks. I can add some audio tracks. Let's say I want to do 10 audio. I'm just gonna let's say do 5 audio tracks, right? So I can come over here, because my interface in this system is my interface system is using, of course, to recognize my interface. I can hit there. Now you can see I got signal. And I can, let me see right here. I can, let me come here to, and I'm going to hit view, console. Okay. My input, now what I have to do right here on my IO is I would have to add, and then add another item. Okay. So that's inputs, outputs. 1, 2. We're gonna add. Okay. So we added. So I'm gonna hit OK. So now I can come up here and see. Whoa. Oh. Okay. I didn't mean to do that. I apologize. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to do that. Let me see if I can turn that down. Okay. There we go. Sorry about that. Oh man. I'm gonna see if I can. I don't know if I can edit that out, because I'm recording this live. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I didn't think about that because I forgot I'm using this condenser mic and it picked up the speakers. Oh boy. So anyhow, as you can see, I set up my input and out my routing, but now you can see it's got signal. There's signal on the page. So yeah, I know some people speak like, I know some people that like, God, forgive me for that. So, but anyhow, I set up the input and output routing for that. So let me see. So I'm gonna shut the mixer down. But what's nice about here is this is my effect. This is all my plugins over here, and I'm going to move me. I'm going to move me. I'm moving right here. Let me move me right here. Okay. So this is all where all my effects are, all my plugins. So I come over here and scroll through all my different plugins that I got in here. What I like about it, over here is also my instruments. So I can come over here. Not only I can insert all my tracks, but I can also come down here. I come, and insert instruments. So I come over here and insert an instrument and grab an instrument. Like I like the Triton Extreme was 1. So I come over here and add. So now it's gonna look for that instrument. Once it finds that instrument on my hard drive, it's going to load that up, and there it is. Okay, so now I got whatever sound I want to choose. So all right, so that's coming. All right, so I got my this, my whatever plugin I want to use. And what's great about what I also like about Studio One is the ability to drag in loops. So I'm gonna come over here to loops, find me a loop, like there's a house track, right? So I might want to come over here to house. Let's find me a drum, right? Or whatever, a loop, drum loop. So I can take this loop, or whatever the case may be, drag in the loop. It's just that easy. So I come over and drag in the loop. Or, no, I mean, let's put it right here. Come right here. So, yeah, there we go. That's a MIDI track. Now I got a loop. Just drag and drop. And now you get this loop. And, of course, you can edit. You can do everything, So I can go on and on and on about Studio One. I'll spend way too much time talking about Studio One. But it's another DAW easy to get going. So I'm going to close this out. No. So Studio One is gone. Okay. Studio One is gone. Okay. Okay. Let me see. I'm moving back over here. Okay. The next DAW, of course, Reason. And we're going to log in. Let it do its thing. So this is another DAW I think is what I like about Reason is everything's built in. You really don't, other than your third-party plugins, you can do everything eternally within Reason. What I like to do in Reason is I like to detach my rack window from my sequencer. And what I normally do is I'll detach the rack window and I'll move it on the other one over here, so I can see the sequence over here, and I can start editing and sequencing. And I'll come over here to my rack window, which is in this window over here, and of course is right here. And I can, like for example, I got it right here. I can come in here and let's say what I want. Let's say I wanted to add in one of the plugins, virtual instruments within Reason, like the drummer, right? So I'm going to take my rack window and I'm going to add in my, let's say I take this drum, add it in. Okay. So I'll add in a drum or an instrument. I'll come and add in my whatever I want to add in, right? Whatever instruments I want to add in my rack. So all those instruments are adding in. Now I'm ready to right? So those windows, as you see, when I added my rack, they popped up on the screen right here, my drum. So I come over this track. So now I can start programming my drums on the pad or on the keys. I can, with my, if I want to, whatever I want to add, you can, or whatever the case, whatever you want to add. And then on top of that, you can also, I can view the main mixer. This is my mixer window. So I can come down and look at my mixer window. I can scroll up and look at the inputs like I was looking at a console. It has the channel, the mic input. It has, basically the compressor, an EQ, and some auxiliary sends right here. And then, of course, the main faders. This mixer is actually emulating a very famous console as well. But what I also like to do on the mixer is a lot of times on the mixer, when I'm looking at the mixer, I'll look at the back and I like to reroute, because they route the cables on this. Let me see right here. You can actually look at the back of the mixer to look at the I believe, let me see, I can't remember. Let me see. I haven't played this for a minute. Options. I think it's in options. There it is. Toggle from yeah. So now so you can, I believe you can, mixer rack, view mixer. I'll come back to it later. But anyhow, because for time purposes, because I need to play with these more, because I forget some of these features and some of these DAWs, and I'm running out of time because it's going almost an hour. So you can have a lot of fun on Reasons as well. And Reason, I'll have a habit of saying Reasons, but the next one is just Reason. You can really, you can. And not just that, but when you add in your plugin, not only do you use the Reason, and this is Reason 11. There's later versions in this, but other than using these virtual instruments, it can scan for additional instruments as well as additional plugins that you can use within Reason as well. It's another awesome software. So I'm gonna close this out. No, we don't want to say that. That's Reason. There's some people that like Mixcraft 9. I'll do one more and I'm gonna close out. And this is Reaper. Well, I'll open up. I'm gonna open up not Mixcraft 9, but because I got Ableton Live on here as well as Mixcraft 9. There's Waveform 12. There's also Harrison Mixbucks. Okay. So that's scanning because Reaper. And I'm gonna show you one of the cool things. What I like about Reaper is you can change the outlook of it. You can do that in Cakewalk too, but you can change the outlook. What I've done is I've taken this is my editing window that you see right here. This is the editing window. And I was playing with some drum stuff. I played it so it'll play like, I got it set up so that it'll act like, I just like the look of the way this looked. The buttons, they look like authentic, real buttons. I like the theme of this, the buttons. But my mixer, really, I've changed it to this. It's called Imperial, but I like the layout of these buttons. Here, you can still see where you actually have knobs and actual buttons on here to emulate, like, they light up like if you're pushing a real, the faders, the buttons, the phase, all these different controls, arm, that I can, just to give it more of a realistic look, like I'm working on an actual real knee VR console, things like that. Move this back over here. So you can track in here, look at your time, your transporter. You don't have to use the Reaper's main theme. You can change that thing. I like the way this, because it looks like I'm working, it just looks like I'm working. I just like the layout of this because it inspires me to, like I'm working on a real console. So, as well as work, the way I work in the tracking. But Reaper's another one. I'm gonna shut this out. No. And I'm going to open up Harrison Mix Bus. And we're going to open up Harrison Mix Bus. Once again, it's another DAW where I have the tracking window on one window, the mixing window on the other one. And I was messing with this called Mary's Joint. And I'm going to hit start. And it's off and running. This is version 8. I have the latest version, which is version 9, but this is version 8. And so let it open up. All right, so it's loading up my plug. I don't have hardly any plugins because the sound of this DAW with the going through the console and using the built-in compressor and everything on the mixer itself is it's almost like it's a finished product in itself. It's crazy. Okay, there we go. So now Harrison Mix, once again, this is the tracking window. There's all the tracks. You can edit the tracks. You can take the tracks. You can highlight it. You can slide it. You can move it, whatever you want to do. I'm going to hit undo. Let me see. Edit. Undo. Yeah, I'm going to undo that because I don't want that to move. I just want to show that you can do that. You can cut the tracks up, slice them, move it, slide them around. If I want this to be, slide this to this track, I can. Move them around. You can do any editing that you can do in any other DAW. But the cool part of this is the mixing window, right? The mixing window is this over here, because the mixing window emulates an analog console. You can actually, this is the EQ on. I can switch it to the bus routing, and this is my buses over here. So I can, there's all my buses and my main master, my buses, and then of course my actual track, all my tracks, my channels. I'm gonna switch it back to EQ, and you can turn the EQs on off and use the EQs, or you can insert EQs. And once again, You can set up all your plugins. They drag and drop whatever plugins you want to drag and drop on a channel. You can do that. Like if I want to use this, acoustic audio, I can slide it. I can slide it on this one right here. And it's there. That's the EQ for acoustic audio. If I want to use that EQ, I can do that, or whatever. If I want to use it, I'm gonna cut. Let me delete. Take that out. You can drag and drop. It's really, really easy to get going, and it's really, really easy to get going in Keras and Mixbus. So, other than that, okay. So, we're going to take this. Okay. Okay, there we go. So I want to put this back on the other window. All right, there we go. All right. All right, so okay, so we're gonna close this. Just quick. All right, so all right, we're pretty much done with the video because it's going on an hour. I just wanted to talk about those. Like I said, you gotta kind of forgive me on the. You gotta kind of forgive me on the Studio One glitch with the. I forgot to turn the volume down. So really, in the end, like once again, like I said, I got Cubase and other DAWs as well. I play around with those mostly. Even though I played around in Ableton Live, I played around in Mixcraft 9, and so forth. All of these DAWs are great. They really are. So it really boils down to what you like and what works for you. There's overall some DAWs have more features than others. Like I think Studio One is fully loaded, but there's features in Cakewalk that I like better, like the Pro channel. What I love about Reaper and the theme system is I like how you can change the theme and it looks like a console. I love how Harrison Mixbus, because the way their mixer look like you're working on a console, and so forth. So it just really depends on which DAW that you like. There's people like FL Studio. They love the workflow of that. Some people like Bitwig. Some people like Logic. There are people that love Pro Tools. I have Logic on my Mac. There are so many DAWs out there, just like there's so many plugins and everything else. All of that stuff will get the job done and get the job done well, including the choice of interfaces that you have today. So it's really more of a preference than anything else when it comes to deciding a DAW. So that's going to do it for this video. I just wanted to talk about DAWs again. You can put in the comments which DAW that you like. And if you like it, you don't have to put why you like it, because obviously if you like it, there's things about it that you like. Just some people love the workflow of Ableton Live. Some people love the workflow of Reason. Some people love the workflow of FL Studio. Some people love the workflow of Cakewalk, Studio One, Logic, Pro Tools. All this stuff will get the job done to what there are going to be a lot of biased opinions out there about which DAW they think is the best. There is no such thing as the best. That's always, when someone thinks it's the best, it's always biased. if it was the best, I mean, that's the reason why there's options of everything. You know, whether there's so many options of mixing consoles, outboard gear, reverb units, delay units, plugins. You know, there's a ton of options. The thing is, all of them will get the job done if the person using this stuff know what they're doing. That's the key point, is experience and knowledge. Has nothing to do with the gear. Has to do with experience and knowledge. Choice of gear is preference. Other than that, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a great one.